So Moses and Jesus are playing golf. Moses steps up to the tee, swings the club, and it's a perfect drive, 275 yards down the fairway, lands right on the green, rolls 6 inches away from the hole. He's feeling good about himself. Jesus steps up, takes a swipe, and hooks the ball to the left, right into the woods. Before Moses can even move, Jesus lifts his hands to the heavens. The clouds darken, thunder claps, and rain pours down. It rains so hard, a stream starts to fill the woods. And a fish swims and grabs the ball from the bottom of the stream, pulls it up to the surface. At that point, a bird swoops down, grabs the fish with the ball in its mouth, flies over the green, drops the ball into the hole. It's a hole-in-one. Jesus looks over to Moses with a smug look on his face. Moses says, "Are we here to play golf or are we here to mess around?" It's a little funny story, but it's a great parable, a great metaphor for us and our spiritual journey and the practices we are on. Are we here to play? Are we here to mess around? Are we here to take this serious? Are we here to fully engage in what we say we're here to do? Or are we just here to mess around? We're wrapping up our series on this book, The Endless Practice, a book that, even at this point, continues to get mixed reviews from the readers. As I read this book this week, the last few chapters, there was a concept that when I read it, it hit home. It was one of those, he got me again moments. He got me again moments. And I realized that in our journey, often, in our quest for peace, the band just sung about peace of mind. In our quest for peace of mind, we often sacrifice and abandon the opportunities to go deep. We do this because we run up against situations and other people who really push our buttons. And we meditate and we pray, and in the back of our minds, we still are saying, they need to change. And when that doesn't happen, we also say, they need to go. Or we need to go. And we abandon a beautiful opportunity. A beautiful opportunity. There's another parable that we know mostly about. It's called the Good Samaritan. It's such a powerful parable that even in today, there's a law, there's a Good Samaritan law. But the Good Samaritan in that story that Jesus told, there was a man who was robbed and attacked and beat up and left on the side of the road for dead. And a priest saw him as the priest was walking down the road, and the priest walked by and left him. And then a Levite, at that time, an even more priestly priest, walked by and left him. But the one person who helped that man was basically his cultural enemy. The Samaritans and Jews were enemies. But he helped that man, and he took care of him and his wounds and paid for his recovery. We focus a lot on the story of the Good Samaritan, on the Samaritan, and you know, that should be us, that we should be the one who helps, who is our neighbor. Everyone is our neighbor. But what happened to the priest and the Levite? What made them step on the other side of the road? They left that man alone, just like sometimes we leave the others alone because of this concept he talks about in this book, personal fundamentalism. We usually use the word fundamentalism in a more religious or political context. He says here, while religious or political fundamentalism appears as an extreme adherence to a single code or set of views with no exceptions, personal fundamentalism appears as the same extreme adherence, but as a desperate effort to uphold our individual experience. An effort to uphold our individual experience. We don't want to be the one who does the changing. We don't want to be the one who makes the first attempt to get past the personality conflicts, because we want peace. And for us, sometimes peace looks like a sanitized version of a relationship where only the best parts of us show up. And then when what we judge as the less than best parts of the other person or the situation shows up, we're like, oh, no, wait, whoa. This is not what I signed up for. What's wrong with that person? Why don't they get their act together and then we're out of there? Or we avoid what it takes to go deeper. We engage in an act of personal fundamentalism. We got our stuff together. There are no accidents in this world. I'm more and more convinced about this. 3 days ago, a friend of ours came to mind. A friend that used to be very, very close to Jennifer, myself, and our family. She came to mind for some reason, and a few years ago, she had decided that she no longer wanted to be part of our lives. And even to this day, we, many levels, still feel her loss. But she came to mind for some reason. I was like, you know what? I never just outright asked her what happened. I never felt that permission. But when she came to mind a couple days ago, I was like, I should give her a call. Well, life happened, and then the very next day, I'm running on the treadmill, and I get a text from her, just out of the blue, saying, hey, heard you're moving on to a new job. Congratulations. And I almost tripped on the treadmill. Because I was like, wow, I was just thinking about her the other day. When will we stop being surprised that things like this happen, right? We say there's one mind, and then when the one mind makes itself known, we are all like, whoa, wow. No, it's not wow, it's one mind. We know this. So I called her up, and we had a great conversation yesterday. We talked for about an hour. And I asked her, what happened? We don't know what happened. And I don't need a different outcome, but I think we get to know what happened. Perhaps it could be the first step in a healing or reconciliation. And she didn't share all the details with me, but she did share a piece about me and something that I inadvertently did that caused her to feel that I didn't value our friendship. And she said, there came a time when the only time I heard from you was when you needed something. You needed me to babysit Joy, or you needed me to help you out with something. It's like there came a point where you never called me just for calling me. And she was right. And part of it was a cultural misunderstanding. I grew up in Barbados, and in Barbados, it's like that's how you demonstrate your friendship. You do things for other people. But I realized in the last few years that that's not how you do relationship. Relationship is like that tiny seed or seedling that you get, and when you first get it, you're with your watering can, and you're watering it, and it grows, and you transplant it to a bigger pot, and you get your Miracle-Gro, and you put that on, and it gets bigger, and you transplant it outside, and you're still shoveling on the Miracle-Gro, and you're pulling the weeds, and you're watering it with the hose this time, and finally, eventually, there's a tree, a massive tree, and you're standing there with your watering can or your hose, and you say, well, it's a tree now. This watering can is not going to make much of a difference. And you think that you no longer need to water that tree, but the tree still needs water. And she was right. I had neglected to continue watering the tree of our friendship. But it took her this long to let me know that. As you can see in this scenario, there's not blame, there's responsibility on both sides. There's a responsibility for me to honor and value who she was and engage. And maybe the responsibility on her to let me know that I wasn't. But we were both in a place of personal fundamentalism. We didn't want our comfort zones to change. But you know what I say about comfort zones? Great place to live, but nothing ever grows there. Are we here to play golf, or are we here to mess around? We think that in order to have personal peace, we don't get to engage. But here's a great quote from the Endless Practice. Peace is the depth of being that holds suffering and doubt, not the raft we climb onto avoid suffering and doubt. Let me read that again. Peace is the depth of being that holds suffering and doubt, not the raft we climb on to avoid it. Often we mistake it, the peace of our being. I got to get out of this for the peace of my soul. No, the peace of our soul is what allows us to engage fully into it. Because the peace of our soul is based in the God of us, in the Christ of us, in the one power and the one presence of us. That is unchangeable. And when we come from that place, we can fully engage, but we got to believe it. We got to believe it. One of my favorite movies of all time is The Matrix. Yes, it's a little violent, I know, but The Matrix, if you haven't seen it in a nutshell, it's this idea that the world we experience is an illusion, and we're all plugged into supercomputers, and in this illusion there are some programs called agents that are like the enforcers, and they're superhuman. Or when our heroes see the agents, they run, because there's no way the agents are going to be beaten. But in the story, there's the one person who can break out of the illusion and free everyone else. And let's say this movie was 2 hours long. The first hour and 45 minutes are scenes of people convincing our hero, his name is Neo, convincing Neo that he is the one. And Neo's not believing it because there's nothing he's doing that's reinforcing that idea that he is the one. Nothing. Until there's this one scene in the subway where Neo is faced off against an agent, and the voices around him are saying, "Run, run." And Neo looks to the stairway that's his escape, and he turns and faces the agent. Someone says, "What is he doing?" And his friend, his mentor, says the magic line, probably the only line from that movie I remember. But it's the line that I think that when we live it, that's when the transformation happened. He said, "He's beginning to believe." He's beginning to believe. And Neo turned and faced and fought the agent and got beaten that time. But by the end of the movie, he fully stepped into his belief at a point where he almost lost his life, but he stepped fully into it and became what he was born to be. That's what this endless practice is. That's what beginning to believe is about. Fully stepping into, and that means that yes, we're the ones. That means we're the ones when there's conflict, when someone's personality pushes against our personality, when the situation seems unbearable, we are the ones who first begin to believe, then fully believe, and then fully express the God of who we are in that situation. Are you here to play golf, or are you here to mess around? If you're here to play golf, get your club and begin to believe that you too can hit a hole-in-one without the fish, without the bird, but with the fullness of the potential that you are. Begin to believe. Namaste.